Perfect time for the mic to cut out right before I start. Alright. Hi, hello, welcome to the stream. If you're watching live or if you're looking at this later, welcome. We're gonna draw some fun stuff today. So, let's get to it. It's a little early. I know that. It's like 9 a.m., 9:30. Most people don't watch streams at that time, but it's the time I got, so. I'm kind of cheating today because I already started this before I started the stream. Started drawing this last night. I figured I'd just finish it on stream. It's for a freaking fantastic little artist on Twitter. Her name is Enley. She makes some adorable things, and I just wanted to draw one of her characters in my style. It might be a little less adorable, but I wonder, if I cut my audio like that and then play that, does that pick up? It's reading. I don't know if that picks up. Looks like it's louder than me though, so let's pull that down a little bit. Still a little loud, ain't it? Put it at 9, and then just pull this down a little bit. Actually, let's pull this way down, and then put the music itself on its own respective app at 100. Whenever there are viewers, you can let me know if that's wrong or not. What are they doing? Oh yeah, cat girl. All the music is by Failpositive and not Coca-Cola, but Failpositive. He good boy, super talented boy. What do we got? See, I like this mouth, but I feel like I should thin it out a little bit on the bottom here, because I want to put a more like lip glossy thing. Oh, that looks way cuter. Alright. Gotta make sure we get rid of lines like this one. I feel like lining art is one of my favorite things to do in terms of drawing. Just because, like, it feels nice to connect all of the lines together and get everything nice and clean. You guys ever feel like today's music is a little shit? Not to say like old music was all that much better, but like, you ever feel like just today's music in general, it's so overproduced and over, like, I guess formulaic? It's all a formula music. It like 4 chords, same like vocal pitches and ranges, the same familiar ones that make people you know, get attracted to those songs just because they sound like something they've heard before, even though they don't realize it. It's like a psychological game almost. I don't get how people live stream. I don't. I feel like I'm horrible at it. I feel like it's hard for me to stay interesting while I draw. I know a lot of art streamers, like, they don't put their face and voice into the stream. Just probably for the better, but I'm an egomaniacal asshole. No, I just feel like I want this to be entertaining in more ways than one. And not to just be like some radio jam you put on in the background. I'm hoping my dulcet, sultry tones are good enough. Putting some fun little lines in the hair. I think I get more nervous when there's not an audience to talk to, because then I just feel like a crazy dude talking to himself, which is essentially what I am. Like, when there's no one listening, there's no one to push back on whatever you're saying, so it makes me feel, you know, a bit more at unease, because there's no one that's like sit here and call me out if I say something stupid, you know. And I would much more appreciate that, like an audience to sit here and be like, hey, shut up, maybe. And then I'll be like, okay, but like, listen. And then eventually I'll be like, yeah, you're right, though. That's essentially how my life goes anyways. You ever give someone attention who doesn't deserve it, but you gave it to them anyway, so essentially they got what they wanted in the first place? I feel like I did that recently on Twitter. And I feel kind of bad. Not for them, not at all, they're a piece of garbage, but like, I feel bad that I even gave them the chance and the platform to be noticed in any capacity, even if like my follower count is small compared to most big people, which I don't think I'd ever want it to be huge. But like, just some people are just really, they really pine for that attention, like real hard, and they want it, even if it's negative, right? And that, like, that confuses me, that wanting of attention like that. But it's also very obvious that they're probably someone who doesn't think very highly of both themselves and of other people, mainly the other people part, because they believe that they deserve any semblance of attention. But, I mean, we're all kind of narcissistic. I think it's kind of like the whole point of being a bit human. It's the most human thing about humans, I believe, is the fact that we're all a little bit narcissistic. Just a tiny, tiny bit. Excuse me while I get some colors. That one. Is my mic still going? Hell yeah. Alright. Just fill that in. Time to grab the other color. Gonna do the hair next. Or Let's get the ears and the tail out of the way. I don't know why I'm using that brush. I have a big, nice flat brush for that. She's got like purple hair. Attention's a weird thing. A lot of us want it. A lot of us don't deserve it, I feel. But a lot of us who don't deserve it get it, because those of us who do deserve it don't want it. You understand what I'm getting at? It's like the person who should be in charge is never the person in charge, kind of deal. I guess in a way that's kind of like a philosophical rhetoric, but like, I hope it makes. My bad. It's been a long morning for me. I hope that I hope what I'm saying makes sense though, in the sense like, I feel like that's the thing you learn in life in general, is that the people who should be where they need to be aren't there. And that's because the people who shouldn't be there are far more willing to step on everybody else to get there. And it's a really weird human thing. And then you have to ask yourself the question, like, well, if they're willing to step on others to get there, don't they deserve that? You know, because they had the drive to get there at, like, no cost. No cost too high anyways. That arm looks weird. Should be like that, shouldn't it? Extraneous lines. Making a really busy area. Easy to fix though. Maybe that makes sense, maybe it doesn't. But like, it really does feel like it sometimes that the people who should be in charge and should be in certain places in life and should have an audience and should be heard are never ever heard. There are a few times when they are, and those people are considered great. And I wonder if it's just a mix of personalities that brings those people out, or a necessity. Something I wonder about a lot. I do a lot of things. I'm in my head a lot. I don't know if you guys are ever in your head a lot. But like, I sit down and just think about a lot of shit all the time. Just to pass the time in a way. Because I feel like it's important to review everything. I feel like it's very important to go back and look through everything and question it all and bring it all to light in a sense, you know. Like, one thing I was thinking about is the fact that a lot of people don't seem to understand words beyond their initial meanings, and that kind of bugs me a little bit. That no one, especially people my age, like, they can't take something beyond face value, and I wonder if that's because the education system has failed them, or if their parents have failed them, or something. I mean, the education system in America is garbage to begin with. But at the same time, there are people who are far smarter than I who stem from it, right? So then I have to ask, like, is it really simply the education system that's failing, or is it the populace as a whole? I feel like it's a really interesting question no one wants to ask. I wish I should move the camera over, shouldn't I? just a little bit so it catches more of my face. It's probably too much of my face in this anyways. Just change the size of that. Let's bring it down a little bit. There we go. That looks better. And you see, this is where having an audience would probably be better. So like these ideas that I'm bringing forth could be spoken to in like a more literal sense, and a more like, you know, questioning sense. Like with people here, I could ask the question directly to other human beings, right? So I feel like it's a fool's errand to simply like take what people say and run with that. If you don't think beyond the words of other people, I feel like you're really missing the point. In a way. Not necessarily entirely. Like sometimes the words of others do hold dear and do hold true. But at times I feel like people simply hear those words, and at the end of that, they don't care. Those words are now gospel because a very specific person said them. And then you'll never question it. That makes me think of big figures like, you know, Michael Jackson. Like, no one's ever gonna be like Michael Jackson in this world. There's no way. I feel like he was a very, very specific kind of person to both exist and to be looked at in such reverence, in a way. I feel like not even the Pope gets that kind of recognition, you know? I feel like there's something to say about that. What the dialogue would be, I have no idea. I'm not that smart. But I feel like recognizing that a dialogue should be there is very much on the same course as, you know, knowing what the dialogue should be, in a way. It's on the same course of like, it's far more honest as a person to realize that the dialogue should be there, even though you yourself don't know exactly what the dialogue should be. I feel like that's just far more honest in terms of, you know, as a person. Being able to recognize that something should be talked about regardless if you are the one who should be talking about it is a very good indication on, you know, being able to look at life in its terms. Not always in literal terms, but in its terms of like, you know, just like the kind of shit we have to deal with, right? Like when you look at life in terms of logic, a lot of us live our lives illogically and emotionally, mainly. Humans are very emotionally driven people and creatures altogether, and a lot of what we do is based off of the emotions we feel for ourselves and for others, which I feel like is another, you know, rhetoric that should be, you know, in a more evolving dialogue as things go by, without it being such shit fest, to put it in, you know, layman's terms. Because I feel like the dialogue of humanity is always evolving and always present, but it's present in terms of like the LGBTQ community or things of such a nature. So they feel very I'm gonna give her. I'm gonna change these to black. But because of that, they feel very very taboo in terms of a subject. It's a very hard subject to be to have conversation over, because of the way we treat the subject. And it's a very I feel like it's a very irresponsible way for us to go as people in general. And like Normally, I would love to make videos on these thoughts I have. I would love to sit down and spend times writing out, scripts and putting together a well edited version of this, rather than me just talking while I stream to essentially no one. There's no one watching this at the moment. But I feel like it's a very cathartic thing to go about in conversation, at least for me anyways. Facing the ailments of the world, even if they're not necessarily ailments, or even if I don't necessarily have any of the answers for it, I feel is a very important thing for me to do, just as a person in general. And it's very cathartic in the sense that, like, maybe cathartic's not the right word or term for it. It gives me a sense of understanding in terms of life. Being able to look at these subjects and understand that there is a dialogue that should be there, even when there isn't. I feel like taking the time to really wonder what my I don't know. Is it back? I don't know when the mic cut out. I don't remember. Or I don't know when it did. So I guess I'll probably just move on with the subject matter. But, I just feel like it's very responsible of me as a person to go out of my way to try and understand the fallacies in life. The fallacies in the world, the negative connotations that come along with everything. Even though, like, some people would look at that and tell me that's a very negative way to go about my life view in terms of facing it, right? Like, when you look at the negative, a lot of people want to, or at least, I feel like it's not even an assumption, it's simply what people have been told. But I feel like a lot of people feel that when you focus on the negatives of life, that you're living life wrong. But I feel like there's a very specific way to go about it. In my opinion, going about life with nothing but a positive attitude and outlook on everything is very irresponsible in a way. Just how I feel like telling people, or telling children that they're special and amazing the way they are, is very irresponsible. And I feel like the point I'm trying to get at is, maybe every single person on this planet is very special. Maybe every single person on this planet is unique. We're not, though. See, these are things I want to say because I know it's a more positive way to go about it, but in the reality, in the honest truths of it all, is that those are simply lies, right? We're not all very special. We're not all very unique in terms of people. We all have wants, desires, and love, and all these things. But I feel like a lot of us want for the same thing, and very few of us want for different things. A lot of us want to be able to provide for our families. A lot of us want to be able to be remembered when we die. A lot of us want to be something we're not, which is very special and very amazing. And we're not. I feel like it's very irresponsible that we keep instilling these ideas in the people, that simply because you believe in something that you can do whatever. I feel like we all know that's not how life works, and that's building upon the naivety of the youth. Or not even the youth, but in those who haven't had to face life and face themselves in terms of life, you know? It's very easy to go about everything with the sense of like, anything I do is important because I did it, but that's not the truth. At least not in the sense that so many people believe, you know? A lot of people believe like I did something, so it's important to everyone. Beyond, and it's like, it's not really. It's not important to anyone beyond yourself, and I feel like it's a very good thing to know. Because then it keeps you from doing things, you know, for the validation of others, and you simply do things to validate yourself on your terms in your life. I feel like relying on other people to validate who you are as a person is a very irresponsible way to live life. Doing that only creates somebody that other people like, not somebody you like. You know? If you're watching back on this stream and going on like, what the fuck is he on about? I just wanted to watch him draw a cute cat girl. You can like kill the audio, honestly, but this is a very these are the things I used to get up on a comedy stage and go about it, but with jokes, right? On here I have a bit more freedom. I don't have to sit down and spend hours writing jokes out, so I can put my ideas together in a manner that will be pleasing to an audience in terms of comedy. I feel like, you know, having a stream or something like this is a very open-ended opportunity for me to have my thoughts be open-ended and be presented as, you know, my initial thoughts. And yeah, it's a very, 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 very narcissistic way to go about everything. I wouldn't lie about that. It's a very, very narcissistic way to go about everything that this is. The conversation I want, the ideas I want to expel and tell, like this is the most narcissistic way and the most attention-grabbing way I could do it. But I'm not doing it necessarily out of attention for me as a person. As a person, I don't care much for attention at all. But I feel like I have thoughts and ideals that should be, you know, presented. And again, that's a very narcissistic view, and I understand that, because that's me essentially saying that my views and my ideas are better than most. And I couldn't tell you whether or not they were. If I did tell you, that would be the nail in the coffin on the whole point I'm trying to get across, because that would mean I would value myself above whatever ideas and ideals you have, and I don't. I feel like if people have better ideals than I do and better views on life, they should share them with me and be upfront about it and be honest. A lot of my views on life stem from living a fairly difficult and hard life in general from a very young age. So a lot of my views are open-ended and honest in terms of us as people. In all reality, if I've never met you in my life in person, I'm probably never going to care about you. I guess that's a bad way to put that. If I've never spent any meaningful time with you, whether it be online or in person, either way, if I haven't spent any, you know, bonding moments with you and had any real conversation with you, why would I care about you, right? That seems like a very rude and mean way to go about that, but that's the reality, right? We don't care about the people we don't know. We don't. As people, as humans, we instinctively don't. And it's reason why it's very hard for a lot of us to make friends is because instinctively, you know, we don't like people. And some others are better at, you know, pulling the lie than some of us, where they go around and they say hi to everybody. But to be honest, a lot of those people are looking for new vessels to use to further themselves, you know? And you can be like, that's not true, that's not true. It is true, because that's how people work. A lot of people want to act and pretend like there's some paragon of justice where, like, every action they take is for the benefit of everyone but themselves, and that's simply not possible. That's not human. If you went every day and made friends with people and expected nothing from anyone ever, you would live a very miserable life, because you would be used constantly by the people who need to further themselves and who want to further themselves. Sure, in an idealistic world, we could all just kumbaya and be happy, right? But then there would be no money, there would be no taxes, there would be no extraneous things or extraneous forms of greed, which is essentially what government, what business is. Business is very much an extraneous need of greed, and a very necessary one, because other people are greedy. And you might argue with me like, that's not true, that's not possible. And it is, because think about it like this. Why would we have stores if none of us were greedy, right? Why would we have businesses? Because if none of us were greedy, then simply we would just be given those things, right? If there was ever an issue in our lives, we would help each other out, right? If there was ever an issue in terms of food, your grocery store wouldn't expect you to pay for it, they would just give it to you. But the world is built on greed. And it's not a bad thing. It's a product of nature, in a sense, of us surviving as we are as people. So it's a very necessary system, I believe. If you're wondering what I'm doing, by the way, this is a very simple way to go about cell shading. Usually you want to do a bunch of outlines and stuff, but I do it like this just because I feel like it makes it look a little bit more unique. Just because I like being a little different and weird. I'm sure other artists do it like this too, though, so I'm very positive it's not as unique as I would claim it to be. But no, the world very much is built on greed, and that's okay. It's a reality, but it's one that is necessary, and I feel that. I really do believe that. Without greed in the world, then there would be no push to move forward, right? A lot of our pushes to move forward in life is for the sake of spiting others. It's very rare that you find anyone who pushes forward simply to make themselves happy. A lot of people will tell you that they do, but let's be honest. The reason why you went out of your way to start doing whatever you're doing is probably because either someone told you you needed to, or because someone told you you couldn't. And you'll see that very prevalent in terms of, the art world. A lot of musical artists come out and say, is like, the reason why they kept pushing was because so many people told them that they couldn't. And that's a good motivator to keep yourself moving forward. It's very hard to sit there and justify your wants and needs with yourself, though. You see, without an antagonist, it's very hard to keep pushing for things. I would see the biggest antagonist in terms of like hip hop, and in terms of the world and rap culture. The antagonist is always the N-word in those songs. It's a very antagonistic word. It's used to both bring people together and push people away at the same time. It's able to create demons out of whatever they need, while also creating bonds and families out of that same need, because they need. The idea I'm trying to get at is it's not a very easy one to simplify, essentially. But what I'm getting at is we build antagonists to further ourselves, to give us a reason to further ourselves. And I feel like that's another... What happens if I exclude it? No, it looks bad. And I feel like that's a very weird way that humans go about pushing themselves forward. I myself even push myself forward based on an antagonist basis, because all my life I was being prepared to go one way, and I didn't like it because someone was telling me where I was supposed to go. And so my antagonist was the fact that people were telling me where my next step should be, and I used that to push myself in a separate direction, which is the art and, you know, all of this. It's a very complicated idea that I really wish I could do a better job of getting across. But I can't just pull off my head and put that in yours, you know. But there's a lot to life, I feel. I feel like there's a lot more to life than people would like to admit. And I feel like life is also simpler than a lot of people would like to admit. I feel like people create necessities out of nothing. Like this right here, this conversation, this stream isn't a necessity for me. It's a very personal thing in both terms of subject matter and of the reason why I'd want to do it. I'm gonna do my signature bubbles. A lot of people ask me about these bubbles. I don't know if I really want to give anyone an answer yet as to why I do them a lot. I think a lot of you can already assume why, especially if you're like probably a fellow artist. Actually, let's go darker first. Let's go out one more. Nope. Never mind. Can't go out one more. I don't know. You probably clicked on this thinking like, oh, it's just another Casey stream. If you did click on it, or you probably, more than likely, you clicked on this not thinking much of anything. You just saw a thing that was going on, and then you got some dude rambling on about his philosophies in life. And you know, if you don't like it, that is a very, very, very fair. Just if you ever come back to the channel and you're like, hey, I want to see the streams, but don't do what you did. I will listen and I won't do this again. But at the same time, you know, I'm human. I'm narcissistic, as most humans are. And I feel like what's in my head is somehow, in some way, viable to other people. And as people, it's really hard for us to admit to ourselves that more than likely it's not. We all like being the center of attention, and that's just part of it. A lot of our ideas probably don't have as much meaning or depth to them as we would like to believe. And see, these are things I feel like aren't negative. People would tell me that these, like what I say is negative. I don't feel like it is. I feel like looking at them in a negative light is what makes them negative on your end. That's a very childish way to go about it, I guess. To go like, well, it makes sense, you're just dumb. That's not how anyone should view anything. Can we increase the size of this real quick? There we go. It's very hard to admit that we're not special, I feel. It's a very hard thing to face. I feel like a lot of us wish we were something we're not. Or wish we were like our novels or our media in a way. I'm trying to find something that's fun. It's kind of fun. I think I'm just gonna leave them like that. Yeah, that works just fine, to be honest. And then we can do something like this. Someone not too long ago gave me a "Who hurt you?" in their little speech of telling me how shitty of a person I am, and I thought it was kind of funny. In a way, you know, like not funny in terms of actually funny, but like funny that someone would have to hurt me in order for me to view the world the way I do. I don't think anyone would need to hurt anyone for this view of life to apropos itself. You know, I don't. I think the reality is just I've had to deal with the world as it is on my own already, and a lot of us never have to do that. At least not a lot of us. A lot of people my age don't, I feel. A lot of people my age kind of go about life with the helping hand of others all the time. And there have been people who helped me. Me refusing to admit that would be very disrespectful of me towards all those people who have given me so much love and support. But I think I just have a view on life from a separate a separate angle, really, because I've had to deal with the worst parts of life. You know, we all complain about like our taxes and stuff and whatnot, but like there are things in life that are simply hard, and none of us really talk about it. Like when you can't pay your bills, like a lot of us don't talk about that online or in like person. Why would it do that? Oh, is it because it's on the exclusion? I guess that makes sense. I'm no, you know, crazy intelligent person. At least I don't believe I am. I feel like thinking that you know more than anyone else is very ignorant in itself. There are simply things I don't know, and things you don't know, and I think that's what makes living kind of fun, is learning about those things I don't know and don't understand. But that's a very philosophical way to talk about the way I like going about my day. I like learning. I like learning so many different things. My favorite subject is science, by all means. I love thinking about things like things that like don't make sense in the world. I love thinking about those things. I feel like they're very fun. I wonder if I... Well, here, let me do something else real quick. I want to add some cute shines. There we go. That's cute. Alright. Here, let's try a thing. Let's fill this. Right? And we're going to go to an exclusion. And then we're going to bring down that. Here, let's do a pink. No. I'm trying to get... I kind of like that. I like that desaturated look of it. I think I'm going to keep that. Alright, that's going to be enough for this little piece here. Well, I think that's going to do it for this hour-long nougat. I think I'm going to stream again tonight, later on, just for the sake of doing it more. I like usually focusing on one art piece per stream, which is why I'm kind of cutting this short, because I like setting up everything before I go about it. Because otherwise, it's just going to be me kind of sitting here being quiet, and I don't have enough music set up for that. Which I think the Positive Fail album ended already. I didn't put it on loop. I did not. Because I'm an asshole. Well, if you watch this later, or if you watch this live and I didn't know, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more of me, there's the lazy YouTube videos. There's also Doodles with Friends on this channel if you look down in the history. I do have a Patreon. I do have a Redbubble. And I'm active on Twitter all the time. Don't be afraid to just DM me and talk to me if that's a thing you want to do. If you think you have an interesting point of view or anything you want to share with me, I would love to hear it, honestly. I love getting new different points and different angles on like just life in general. I love reading through that and other people's philosophies. I'm not going to sit down and like tell you to think any different either. That's not my place to do that. But like I do want to hear it because I do find it very interesting on my own. Other than that, thanks so much for watching. If you did, if you made it this far, thank you a whole lot. See you guys in the next stream and or video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and stuff, guys. Really important. You know, gotta make that YouTube revenue, even though we don't monetize any of our videos. By the way, if you do like Paper Duck enough, on my Redbubble page, redbubble.com/people/Zeus, I believe, is the link for it. It'll show up on the. It shows up on the starting soon card a few times if you want to go back to the beginning of this video. But on my Redbubble page there is a paper duck sticker you can get, but you can also get it as a t-shirt, tote, whatever. Like you can select what kind of product you have it on. I have one on a coffee mug, on a portable coffee mug that I don't have in my room to show off. But you know, if you want to buy one of those, it's not too horribly expensive, and it does help me and this channel. So always think about that, you know. Anyways, you guys have a good day. Probably see you later. Bye. Bye bye. Bye 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 bye. But just be like Markiplier. My name's Markiplier, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.